But it's not helpful for conversation to use broad brushes like that, though, is all I'm saying. Like, if I were to say, oh, you believe all the same things as Mormons believe, oh, you guys believe that Jesus and Satan are brothers, and, well, no, that would be inaccurate, right? That's not what you believe. I'm sure you've probably had that. You come to someone's door.
That's an interesting question. Who is Satan?
Who is Satan?
If he wasn't Jesus' brother at one time.
Oh, so you believe he is Jesus' brother?
No, he's a spirit creature.
He's an angel. He's a fallen angel.
Yeah.
But would you say that means that he's Jesus' brother?
So an angel is a spirit creature.
So do you believe he was Jesus' brother?
Yeah, he was created by Jesus. He was architected by God and created by Jesus. So, in technicality, he's a brother.
Oh, well, I stand corrected. You guys do agree with the Mormons on that. Okay. Interesting. I have to admit, her response really surprised me. I do think the primary reason she said what she did was in order to try and wiggle past the point I was trying to make about how badly she kept insisting on misrepresenting my beliefs. But even then, I think I was still able to make my point. At least, I hope so. Anyway, I think her claim is actually somewhat true about what the Watchtower teaches. Technically, if you believe that Jesus is an angel, since Satan is also an angel, you could call them brothers. I suspect most JWs wouldn't word it exactly like that, though, because the mere thought of it is really disgusting and, frankly, blasphemous. But in order to try and sidestep my argument, my friend will go to some pretty extraordinary lengths sometimes. Next you'll hear her go right into the straw man broad brushing that she had already been doing for some time. The whole point of my JW and Mormon analogy was to show how unfair and ridiculous it is for anyone trying to have a meaningful conversation. But I guess that since she felt like she was able to sidestep that analogy, she didn't even miss a beat and carried right on where she left off. And then it got even worse. You could probably hear the frustration in my voice, and I'm sure she could too, because I think that actually encouraged her to get even more into her sales pitch. Okay. Well, but I mean,
just as
did you?
As a Catholic and a Protestant is a brother. They have different faiths. But
no, we're not brothers in the faith. But
or the person, say for instance, a brother. You're a brother to somebody who is in Africa who worships nature or whatever.
No, see, I would say no. Well, no. As far as like the human race being a brotherhood or something like that, in a really generic sense.
Jehovah and his angels are a family.
Interesting. Anyway, so
don't forget that the Bible was written for the benefit of man. And it was that's why it was transmitted to humans to write, so that humans could write it and it could be explained in human terms. So we have to think of the Bible in human terms when you're reading spiritual things.
But the point I was making was about the whole broad brushing thing. You don't like it when somebody misrepresents you. And tries to say you believe
people
the same.
Misrepresent Jehovah's Witnesses all the time.
Absolutely, and that's right, and that's wrong. It's wrong of them to do that. I believe that's wrong for them to do that. We should be accurate. So, like, you just corrected me because I thought that you didn't believe Jesus and Satan were brothers. So, but you do believe that. So now I know something more about your belief. And I don't have to say it incorrectly to someone else.
I wouldn't get upset about it, but because that's, like I say, that's a moot point.
Well, my concern is just that when you can't even properly represent or even understand what it is that I believe, and you keep going back to broad brushing with nominal professing people who just happen to have gone to a church once or something, then we're not really it's not fair, it's not accurate to do that. Like, we can't really get into a deeper conversation when you keep thinking and insisting I believe things that I don't believe. Do you see what I mean?
Well, what have I inferred that you believe that you don't believe? Give me an...
okay. Well, you've done this quite a few times in the past, but just in this conversation, we've already talked about, you said that, Christians believe all good people go to heaven and all bad people go to hell. That's not a Christian belief. No, but that's not a Christian belief, and no Christians believe that. People who might...
No Christians believe that?
No Christians believe that. People who are... I'm just cutting a bit of this part out because she shared some personal information at this point. Basically, there is someone in her life who professes to be a Pentecostal and holds to some pretty wacky beliefs that most people who are actual practicing Pentecostals would reject. I think that's one of the reasons why my JW friend brings up Pentecostals so often when she wants to bash what the Watchtower calls Christendom.
Pentecostal, but she doesn't go to church because she believes that a lot of people I know that like her believe that they believe that the Babylon the Great in Revelation is organized religion. So then you can read the Bible, you can get your own interpretation of it, and God will reveal it to you, but you don't go to church because that's part of Satan's organization. Now, the connection there I don't get, but that's a moot point.
No, well, that doesn't...
And I know another friend that thinks the same, sort of along the same thing, but a little bit different.
Okay, and so they're showing evidence that they actually don't even believe the Bible.
And, well, the one person that I talked to, she says, when I said to him, when I was doing comparisons of the Bible, and she didn't know that was there, and she said, well, I don't pay attention to that. And so then, I said, well, then there's no point in us discussing because you don't believe in the Bible. And then she said, next day she says to me, you're right. I don't believe in the Bible. I believe in what God reveals to me in person to me.
That's a shame. Yeah.
And yet, she'll say that she's born again and has that feeling that she is and
she
everything.
Has a feeling.
I respect that for her.
So she lives on feelings. And I'm not saying you should be like rude or disrespectful to to people for what they say, but I guess maybe here's a better way of differentiating, in that I belong to the historic Orthodox Christian faith, small O, not Eastern Orthodox.
So I don't like to discussing what we are, what label we have.
It's just to define terms.
Immaterial, because it's what we should be doing is laying our labels aside and looking into the Bible to see what that Bible.
But I hope you can understand my point for that. I don't walk around saying terms like that, but the point that I'm trying to make with that is that we're trying to be clear about where we're coming from. And I hope I think that I'm not like someone who just is a lone wolf picking and choosing and, coming up with stuff because it feels good.
You should be. That's what we just read about, to keep testing whether you are in the faith.
Oh, sure, but that's...
You personally.
Right, of course. But that's not what I'm talking about.
You and I personally should look into the Bible and what is God's purpose for us. He made a beginning for us in a paradise earth.
Did you hear how she completely ignored the entire point I was making and went right back to the paradise earth sales pitch? Unbelievable. I guess I can understand why she did it, though. She didn't have any way of responding to anything I was pointing out about her straw man arguments. That would require her being thoughtful and really considering what I was saying. All she wanted to do, though, at this point, was to follow her training, and that's it. So she decided to ignore everything I said and got right back into the exact sales pitch that she'd already done. She's pretty crafty at doing that, isn't she? She sure knows how to keep me on my toes.
He put man on the paradise earth, and he wrote in the Bible that the heaven belongs to Jehovah, but the earth he gave to earthling man.
This is another problem with Watchtower teaching that I should have pointed out. The heavens and the earth belong to Jehovah. Certainly, he gave us dominion over the earth, but it's still his. We're under his rule and authority, whether we submit to it or rebel. That might seem a bit like nitpicking, but when you put her statement there together with other things she said, like that Satan is the god of this world, you can see how the Watchtower's God is really very small and impotent. And it would really have to be in order to puff up the organization and present it as the true savior, though I know they wouldn't use that exact wording. In a minute you'll hear her refer to Jehovah as a spirit creature several times. Again, I know this is basically just sloppy on her part, but I think it's actually a fair use of the term when talking about the Watchtower's God. It is indeed a created thing, a creature, not the true God.
So his purpose was obviously, then when we read that, to have a perfect life. Mankind was to have a perfect life on earth and never ever die, and live and make the whole earth a paradise and live as brothers. And that is his purpose, because at Isaiah he says that he is the same, hasn't changed, and what he purposes he will fulfill. And the whole Bible is a explanation of how that purpose is going to come about. We read in the Hebrew scriptures how there would be a Messiah coming, and there was no mention there of another God. Only the Israelites there, that they had the first truth. Abraham was a friend of God. He had that first truth. He believed in God. He was a friend of God, Jehovah. And he knew Jehovah was one individual, mighty spirit creature that he could be a friend with. And that friend didn't live in him. That friend was up in heaven, in the heavens of the heavens, and he had a relationship with him. And that mighty spirit creature protected him, walked with him, looked after him, because he was an almighty individual that was separate from him, all alone, that he could trust. That's a relationship. You understand what I mean?
Well, relationship is the entire point, I think.
And he could have that relationship because he knew that Jehovah God had that purpose for him. He was a mighty spirit creature that could produce that. He made the earth, he made everything in it, so he was going to eventually bring about the perfect conditions that he started with.
So would you say that your hope, your greatest treasure, is that of Paradise Earth?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And that Paradise Earth, then, of course, is only going to be given to obedient man. And so this is a learning experience where we, as Jehovah's Witnesses, are learning to live by Bible principles that will be applied in this new world of paradise on earth. You know, just think, like when we look around and when we're young, and you're young yet, I'm talking to an old person, sorry. When you're young and you're healthy, you don't think of ever being anywhere else. You enjoy doing what you're doing. If you love gardening, you love gardening. If you love swimming, and you love traveling or whatever. You want to do it forever.
Yeah, but those are kind of the vain things of the world, aren't they? I mean, that's true. The young heart does want those sorts of things.
Can you just hang on a moment?
Mm-hmm.
Just hang on. But anyway, sorry for the interruption.
So, no, that's okay. So I agree with you that when we're young and healthy, then yeah, we're definitely very focused on the things of the world and, enjoying.
And they're not wrong. What's wrong with that?
Oh, they're not bad, except that they're when they are the only thing that we care about. They're
if we do that, we're like if when we're out in the like, say for instance, you're out for a walk, and you're observing Jehovah's works. You're observing nature. You're observing an ant carrying a great big leaf to her nest.
Sure. Yeah, that's God's creation. That's beautiful, and
you're fascinated by that, and you think, and you say to yourself, "Oh, how marvelous Jehovah's creation is!" Because that little ant has the brains enough to take that into her home and feed her family and take care of her family, and it's so wonderful. Jehovah's works are so wonderful. And then you see a bird flying. That bird isn't afraid to fly. He lands on a top of the tree. He's not afraid of falling down. Jehovah has implanted into that brain of that bird to be able to do that. It's amazing, You're praising Jehovah.
Yeah, and we look at the sunset, and we look at going up a mountain, or I mean, even the, your view, anything like that.
That's certainly not wrong.
We look at all those things, but what we should be doing
we aren't praising Jehovah in the things we do.
We should be looking to that, all of those things we should be looking at and saying that is to the glory of God. Look at the great God
so
who
I'm
made
just saying that's to the glory of God.
Right, so it should point to God.
That is going to be part of how we will worship and praise Jehovah.
But when we're young, we're so focused on
just naturally doing that forever.
We're focused on doing all of those things, but we're not focused on praising God for all of those things.
Imagine doing that forever.
Well, that's the thing. Like, your treasure is doing stuff and having a place to do all those things, which are all lovely, good things. But
so what's your mission?
So
what's your feel? What do you feel?
My hope and my treasure is Jehovah. Him. I get to have Him. I get to know Him.
Is that too? That's not an answer.
Oh no, it is, because it's not about where.
What is your hope for that?
Because
what is the hope that Jehovah has?
Okay, if I can finish. My hope is Him, not what I can get from Him, not a place where I can live, not even all the wonderful things like having a healthy body and all that kind of thing, but actually getting to be in intimate relationship with Him for eternity. That is my treasure. That's what David said in the Psalms. Is God is my portion.
So then the world will continue the way it is. People will be killing themselves.
I didn't say that.
Will be happening.
I didn't say that.
There will be another more serious epidemic than COVID, and the earth is going to be more polluted, and it's going to go on like this.
So you're still looking at just the physical stuff, and I didn't say that.
Apparently, that if you keep having a relationship with Jehovah, and the earth is going to continue the way it is, that's what will happen.
But that's not what I said. That's an implication you're making. That's not what I said. You're saying that.
Well, then while you're having this relationship with God, what is happening to the earth?
Right now, the earth is still...
Not right now, in the future.
Will Christ return? And will the heavens and the earth be united? And will we be in perfection? And there will be no more death, no more sin, no more pollution, no more illness.
That's exactly what will happen after Armageddon.
Right,
yes.
but that's not. But that's actually that's the outflow of the greatest treasure, which is being with Jehovah, being in Him. And that's my point, is that I understand all those nice things.
How is that going to be accomplished? You see, the Bible...
That will be God's work.
That'll be what?
That will be God's work. That's what He does. I don't bring that about. He does it. Christ will return?
So his word will magically change the whole world.
Magically, we're talking about God.